czar of noir, Eddie Muller.
I'm so glad the snow has stopped. I was a little nervous about that, yeah. So, but I am thrilled to be back in Seattle to see such a fabulous house. You guys look great. I'm going to, as the bad lounge singer said, I'll be here all week. So I'm looking forward to talking to everybody and hanging out and having a great time. So let's get this show on the road. I'm going to start by saying that years ago, I wrote a book called Dark City Dames about 6 actresses who had made a lot of noir films. And one of those women, Evelyn Keyes, told me something that has always stuck with me and has become even more profound. It was prescient when she said it, and now it seems kind of profound to me. One of the things I asked all these women was, you know, what scares you? And Evelyn said, what scares me the most is that she felt, and remember this is in 2001 that we were talking, she said that she felt people were losing the ability to distinguish between fantasy and reality. And what she meant by this was that people were looking at screens constantly. And she said when people are at home, they're just watching television or they're looking at a computer or something. And I'm afraid that this intravenous overload of information is going to lead to people not being able to distinguish between what's real and what is not. And she brought this up when she was talking about seeing movies when she was a child. And she said, you know, I feel that I'm healthy at 85 years of age because I went to the movies. And that's how I got my fantasy. I went to the movies. I entered a movie theater with other people, and the lights went down, and we watched this fantasy unfold, and then we went out and back into the real world. So this seemed very profound to me these days when, Jesus, Evelyn, they didn't even have smartphones when we had that conversation. They didn't have iPads. They had no streaming. There was no streaming of any of this stuff. And so what I have come to realize doing Noir City for over 20 years now is that as much as it's important for us to rescue and restore the films, it is equally important to preserve the film-going experience, because I believe in movie-going is a communal experience where people get out, they go to the movies, they meet other people who enjoy the same things that they do, and it's a bit of socializing that is vitally important. Also important because in addition to preserving the films and the film-going experience, we need to preserve the audience. This has become more important than ever before. There are a lot of major players in this game, big corporations who don't really care about the people, they care about the people's eyeballs. And that's all they care about. If those eyeballs are fixed on their thing, that's all that they care about. They don't really care about a community of moviegoers. They don't care about keeping American cinema history alive. It matters not to them. If the eyeballs are glued on this, that's what they're going to produce. That's what's going to be shown. That's what's going to stream. So it is vitally important that people see that this is a full house tonight for a movie that nobody even knows what the hell you're about to see. You don't really know what craft is, you know? But you're willing to come out in the cold and share this experience because it's valuable, right? So this is a something to do. Okay, as to the film that you know nothing about, this is one that was on our radar for a long time at the Film Noir Foundation. If you watch me on TCM, you know that I have shown a number of films directed by Richard Fleischer. He and Anthony Mann are currently tied for the lead of most films shown on my show on TCM. But this one was elusive. for various reasons. If you've seen, I see a lot of familiar faces here who have heard me do the rap over the years about how films can slip through the cracks, especially if they were independently produced and did not have a big studio in which that film could go into the vault, sometimes never to be seen again, but at least it was protected. Films made by independent companies, like this one was at Eagle Lion, they don't have that protection. So we were extremely lucky. At one point it looked like we were going to have to preserve this film from a 16mm print and try to do it digitally and scan it and blow it up to 35mm to get that artifact. We at the Foundation are believers still in having an actual film artifact of what we restore and not just having it be digital, because we do not really know about the preservation qualities of digital at this point. We know how long a film is going to last if properly cared for, but digital stuff can be wiped out in an instant. We don't want that to happen. So fortunately, I resisted going that route. And lo and behold, 3 months after I said, we're not going to go forward with this project, a private collector in upstate New York deposited a 35mm print of Trapped at the Harvard Film Archive. It's a very small community that we live in and work in. And I got wind of that, and I said, well, let's take a look at it and evaluate it and see if we can actually do a restoration from this 35mm print. Thankfully, it was in beautiful condition. And so when we restore the film, we're actually making a new negative from that existing positive. Not the most ideal situation. You want to work from the original negative, but this is the next best thing to guarantee that the film will never be lost. Because even if, God forbid, this print is destroyed somehow, we now have a new negative of the film, so we can always make another copy. In fact, there are multiple copies in existence now, because this film is also showing tonight in Los Angeles at the UCLA Festival of Preservation. And I want to thank our partners at UCLA for doing the actual work on this film to get it restored. And I also want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association's Charitable Trust for funding a large percentage of this restoration. You can mock them all you want for the Golden Globes and how absurd the whole awards thing is, but that Golden Globes award ceremony pays for all these charitable donations that the Hollywood Foreign Press is able to make. So keep giving out those Golden Globes. So the film that you're about to see, Trapped, is produced by a man named Brian Foy, who is one of the great B-movie producers in Hollywood history. Close personal friends, I'll have you know, with Chicago gangster Johnny Rosselli. Johnny Rosselli wanted to be in the movie business. He was the Chicago mob scout man. He was their point guy in Hollywood, and actually silently produced a few film noir classics, such as T-Men and Canyon City. He is not involved directly in this movie, but he and Brian Foy were like this. And Brian Foy had success with T-Men, and this is basically T-Men on a lower budget. But you get Lloyd Bridges playing a bad guy. If you're as old as I am and you remember Lloyd Bridges as the star of Sea Hunt, where he was a good guy, and also a good guy because he was the father of Jeff and Bo Bridges. Well, this is the bad Lloyd Bridges you're going to get to see in this movie. And his co-star, Barbara Payton, honestly, I could spend the rest of the night just telling really, really ugly, lewd, horrible Barbara Payton stories. She was just born into scandal and was just, nothing good was ever going to come of this poor woman's life. So I don't want to say too much to fill your head with terrible thoughts of Barbara before you get to see her in this movie, but we have many days ahead of us in which I can share some of the sordid details of this Payton's life. Okay. Have you seen the movie Detour?
Yes.
Tom Neal, the star of Detour, he and Barbara Payton had this torrid love affair that resulted in her husband, Francho Tone at the time, sending a private detective to spy on them, and when Tom Neal caught the private detective, he actually beat the private detective and Francho Tone so badly that he fractured his skull, and there are famous pictures of him in the hospital with his head all bandaged up. Yeah, Tom Neal had he was another guy that was just born to have a bad ending. And he did. Shot and killed his wife in a game of Russian roulette, so he claimed. You see, and Barbara Payton ended up turning tricks at stoplights on Sunset Boulevard. So there you asked for a story. She didn't quite make it to 40 years of age. So there, I mean, what is your appetite? But at the time she made this movie, Barbara Payton was named one of the baby stars most likely to succeed for 1950. It is a noir world, okay? Let's just leave it at that. So I hope you enjoy this film. There will be, before the second movie tonight, we're going to go back to our little trivia thing of playing Name That Noir. I will be looking for likely suspects who want to come up on stage and potentially be humiliated. But the questions aren't really going to be that hard. So, and we have prizes and all that stuff. So right now, though, this is very exciting because I have not seen this print. When I introduced it in San Francisco, the premiere, I was pulled every which way, and I actually did not get to sit in the house and watch the movie that the Film Noir Foundation restored. So you guys are seeing it for the first time tonight with me, who is also seeing it for the first time, which I think is cause for great celebration. So I hope you enjoy.